I thought I'll be in flow, but it's tricky.
Watching hour after hour, I'd kind of count the amount of people's hair the barber was cutting. I'm like, 3 people in 1 hour. That's $90 right there.
I think we have no excuses. If you really want to do something, there will always be ways out.
No, I don't care. Like, I'm gonna keep cutting hair at my friend's basement, right? It started to grow. I started to make more money. His basement was getting busy. Like, so many people are coming to my basement, right?
And I still quit that business. Everybody told me not to do it. 6 months into starting my own company, which is 2023, I had the answer just like that one day. I said, you know what, Ash? Welcome to the Launch Lab podcast. I'm Ash, your host. I came to Canada on May 29, 2019, with nothing but a dream to make it big in this foreign land. Starting fresh, I quickly learned that success is built on resilience, adaptability, and having the right people around you. Now, I'm here to share that journey alongside other inspiring stories from fellow entrepreneurs who came here and paved their path to success. Every episode, we dive into life-changing moments, difficult decisions, and struggles which define the entrepreneurial journey in Canada. So if you're ready to build, grow, and chase your dreams, this is the right place for you. So let's launch it. So let's get right in. I think, and I do talk a lot, so you can interject whenever you want to. And so I would want to initially start with you doing your own introduction, and we'll take it from there.
Yeah, so my name is Alen. As you know, Ash already. I'm 20 years old. And
point to be noted. 20 years old.
20 years old. And my family, both my parents are immigrants. My dad came from South India, Tamil Nadu. And my mom, her background's from New Delhi. And yeah, I grew up in Brampton all my life, and I've always been the youngest child. Yeah.
So you're the only child or the youngest?
I'm the youngest. I have an older brother. My brother, he doesn't live with me anymore. He lives in New York currently. He's doing optometry over there. Optometry in the hospital.
Okay. So we'll come to this. Because it's very different from what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So tell me more about your family. You said your parents are immigrants.
Yeah.
And you've been living in Brampton your whole life. So you were born in Canada?
Yeah, so I was born in Canada. My older brother was actually born in New Delhi, and then when we came, when my parents came here, I don't know the story, but I know I was born in Mississauga, I think Credit Valley.
Okay.
Is that the name of the hospital, Credit Valley?
You've been here for many more years than I have been, so
yeah.
I'm not sure though. But so your family came from India, mom from New Delhi, same place where I was born in.
Mm-hmm.
So probably their struggles. While growing up, you must have seen their struggles because coming as the first gen immigrant, right?
Yeah.
The dynamics are different. And I'm assuming they were even more different back in which year did they come?
I believe 2002 maybe, around there.
2 decades ago, more than 2 decades. So the city would be very different. The way people looked at immigrants would be very different from now. So growing up, do you remember any, I won't say struggles, but any experiences where you felt like because you're an immigrant, this is happening to your family particularly, or was it always hunky-dory?
So obviously my parents are also from like 2 very diverse parts of India, right? They actually were studying in Russia. That's where they met. They were doing education in Russia, in the Soviet Union, during communism when education was free, and that's where they actually met. So it was even that wasn't like the perfect Indian like relationship, right? So coming here, it was like you're really starting from nothing, right? Like I remember my parents would work night shifts at security, Tim Hortons, like all the immigrant jobs you could think of, right? Like they were doing all of that. And growing up, like especially being the younger one, like I felt like I was always in the back seat of the car observing stuff, right? Like the like arguments, the like certain like disagreements and struggles that came with like living like dollar to dollar, right? Like hearing stuff like we can afford this right now was very common growing up for me.
And so, what do your parents do now?
Um, so right now my mom, she works for RBC,
Okay.
and my dad, he previously he tried opening a Kumon franchisee,
Okay.
and now he's kind of like departing from that. And luckily I'm in a much better position, my brother's in a better position, so we do our best to support our family. And now I know my parents are more relaxed, they have less burden of the finances.
So, as you just mentioned that you do your best to support your family.
Mm-hmm.
So, when you say support your family, so do you financially support them as well, or is it just being with them emotionally?
But both, and always financially, like being there for them, like you, like I always see that, like I saw the struggle that they went through for us, so I always try to never, like nothing we could do could ever pay them back for it, but like as much as I could do, I try to pay it forward to my family. Um, if you want me to share a story,
Oh,
I
sure.
didn't want to cut you off, but you know how I became a barber. Cause you said, do I remember any stories? Um, this was actually one story that stuck with me, that kind of connects to being a barber, and like when I see this happen in my shop now, the shop that I work at, it kind of makes me emotional. But this is gonna go. It's kind of a long story, but my brother, he always used to take me to, like being the older brother, he always wanted to bring me to get a nice haircut, and he told me, you need to have a haircut. He taught me the importance of looking good and having a nice haircut. So when he went to university, um, the barber he used to bring me to was obviously like a little more expensive and a little further, and my parents obviously wouldn't want to bring me there because they're like, no, we're not gonna drive you and pay that much for a haircut, right? So it was something that like I had to like really beg my mom for a long time. I'm like, please, please, I'm not gonna go to any other barber, and I'd kind of like be really, really upset. I even remember crying going to other barbers when my parents would force me, right? And then like yeah, my mom caring for me, she decided, okay, I'll take you to that barber, and she drove one day, and we were I believe like 20 minutes late, and I was really like, being a kid not knowing anything, I'm like, I was a little upset with my mom, like, mom, we're late for my haircut appointment, right? And then I go in, and I remember the barber said, oh, like I can't really cut your hair because we were late, obviously, right? And just being a kid, you know so little. I was so upset in the moment, and I remember my mom went in and she's like, "Please," like she asked him really politely, like, "Could you cut my hair?" And then he ended up cutting my hair, and then I remember her, like me, like, cause I just did it, like in that moment, I didn't know the struggle my parents would go through to like make me happy and do all this for me, and then at the end, she paid for the haircut. I even like I don't know, it makes me emotional just to see like all the stuff my parents did just for me to be happy when I was growing up. So
How old were you when this happened?
I think I was like in grade 7, grade 6. So like when I see this in our shop with kids coming in asking for these expensive haircuts for this product, that product, and I see the moms that come in hardworking, especially when I see other immigrant families coming in, it really like it hits me sentimentally because I know how the mom's kind of feeling in the moment.
When we look back, we see our parents have done so much, and that also somewhere in our subconscious is always instilled in us that we need to give back to the society, to others, but our parents too. Like now it's our time, it's our responsibility. And having that realization at 20, and you mentioned that you want to you already support them financially, having that realization at such a young age is also inspirational, right? Like, of course, making money is a priority, but then helping your parents making that money is an achievement in itself. So kudos to that. But coming back to you talking about helping them at 20, do you think this maturity came in you early because you saw the struggles of an immigrant, or I mean, there was like you firsthand felt it, or were you always like this, like a little? Um, I mean, I think mature for your age, like with your thoughts.
I think, yeah, ever since the last like 3 years of my life, I don't think someone's guessed my age correct once. Like they'll always guess a little higher, and I think the main reason for that maturity is just I kind of was like I started to do stuff alone from a very young age. So like by grade 4, my brother left the house. My older brother to go to university. He went to Laurier. So I would come home from school every day, empty house, just me all alone, like YouTube, like cooking those frozen meals from the freezer, like making mac and cheese in my house, and like calling my friends over or going to their house mostly, and like everything was done alone. Like I kind of I was the first person who out of my friends, I'm like, yo, let's find a way to make some money. Like I always was just starting stuff and doing it on my own, and I kind of like I got into barbering very young. So from a very young age, I ended up talking to a lot of much older people than myself. So I feel like just listening to them and like being able just going into a lot, like experiencing more stuff from a young age kind of made me realize more early.
Yeah. So what you say does make sense, and I agree with you here because what you mentioned is in a gist, it's making things work. So I'm assuming you were not the kind of kid who used to complain a lot, like I'm coming home alone, I have to eat frozen food, but you wanted to just make it work, like make the best out of what you have with the limited resources you had. So you were never a cranky kind of a kid, I'm assuming. Am I right?
Like
Until the first haircut when you forced your mom,
yeah.
of course.
No,
But I think
I wasn't it. I was always like, even till today, my friends. Now that I have, I guess you could say, a higher network with of a friend group, like they always say, how are you so comfortable doing like the most, like I like to be simple too, like I enjoy the simple things of life as well, just because of that as well. But like obviously like the haircut, and like obviously I'll tell my mom, come home earlier, I'm so lonely at home, like
yeah.
co- don't work this night shift, like. But I knew she had to, but like there were obviously complaints in my heart that I cared for. But no, like I like you said, like I'm very I make things work, like I'm happy with especially growing up, I know that like everything has its reason, right?
Yeah, everything happens for a reason. I've kind of modified it. I always say everything happens for a good reason. Probably we don't realize it then. Maybe a few years down the line, maybe a few days, few months, or even a few years, we're like, if that wouldn't have happened, I wouldn't have been this person.
Exactly.
So I'm always thankful of, like,
Good and bad.
again, coming back to where we started from, where you mentioned that everything happens for a reason, right? It's just the perspective. Right. So yeah, okay. Coming back, I told you I talk a lot, so it will be more like a conversation than me asking you questions.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we were talking about your childhood and how you, but then I also feel the passion or the seed of being a barber did come early in your life.
It did, for sure.
That's how you were so passionate about going to the barber shop. I might be wrong, but I'm just assuming that that was something which was of pleasure to you. It was not going out, maybe playing video games or doing this or doing the usual, but going to a barber shop, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't know if every kid is that excited to get their hair cut. Like I
Yeah.
did never get a chance to get my hair cut, so I don't know. I can't empathize. Or I can feel it, but yeah. So I think that was something which was your passion, your calling. So you mentioned, I keep mentioning your age, 19 or 20, sorry. Uh, so how did it eventually get into you being on the other side and take like cutting
Becoming a
hair,
barber,
becoming
yeah.
a barber?
So yeah, like I said, my brother was the one who initially
Yeah.
brought to my attention the importance of a haircut, and I obviously uh, I think it was just having the older brother who I seen him style his hair, seen my dad like groom himself. Like I knew there was an importance of looking good and stuff, and whenever my brother took me to, like he was teaching me the difference between a good and bad barber, and then when I would experience the good haircuts, I would feel extra happy because especially because the way
Confident.
confident my brother was complimenting me. People at school, I always used to get compliments because I was the kid who used to put gel in my hair, and people. So, like, yeah, I think it was just mostly my older brother who kind of brought it to my attention, and me being like looking up to him, kind of like I always like really was into it, and what my dad says to me is all those drives where my dad would drive us to Laurier, which is where my
Okay.
brother's university, and me sitting in the back seat, and all those hours, like the barber we used to go to, that my brother used to bring us to, we would be waiting there sometimes for like 5+ hours. So my dad was saying like all those hours spent waiting for a haircut, all those drives sitting in the back seat, going to meet my brother, and my brother talking about, oh, I just got a cut in Laurier. The barber is making so much money. All the students go to him, right? Like my dad thinks that influenced my brain, and yeah, like in our barber shop, sitting there watching hour after hour, I'd kind of count the amount of people's hair the barber was cutting. I'm like, hold up, didn't this guy just charge him $30, 3 people in 1 hour? That's $90 right there. And then I'm like, wait, doesn't my dad say he only makes this? I'm like, wait, this Asian guy is making more just standing there, and then I think it just kind of planted seeds in my head, and like that was me as a kid. Like my dad always was very like cared about the finances. Like, okay, if you have $10, don't spend $10.
Yeah.
Right?
South Asian
Right?
parents.
Exactly. Like very like I'm not gonna say cheap, but like yeah, like kind of cheap in a way, right?
Yeah.
And my brother was on the other side where he would always like tell me, yeah, it's sick, it's cool, right? So like I was kind of a mixture of both of them, and I was just a little young kid analyzing everything. So yeah, that was
And I
kind
can see how vivid your memories are with your barber.
yeah.
It feels like a love story. You talking about your first date, going
Yeah.
to the barber, sitting with the barber for like 5 hours.
Yeah.
It feels like your love, like love of your life. That's how.
I actually like when I think of one of my barbers, all of them actually. I actually had a special like I actually liked them a lot.
Yeah, so
Like I would
like
remember
that bro
my
code,
barber
soft corner for them.
in between, like we'd be waiting for 3 hours and then we'd go take a smoke break. My dad would be like, "What the heck? We've been waiting."
Yeah.
This guy smoke, and I'd just be looking at him smoking his cigarette outside.
Yes.
So, yeah, definitely, definitely, like I looked up to my barber.
No, that's really interesting to hear, and I want to um, would want to dig deep into how your entrepreneurship journey started. Um, but yeah, this sounds really fascinating and really interesting to me. Okay, so tell me more about your your parents with respect to your profession. So you said that, yeah, so love at first sight, with the barber, in the appropriate way which we're talking about. But did they never object, or did they realize that you're gaining more interest in doing, like having your own entrepreneurship venture, into venturing into being a barber? Because um, I know how our parents were programmed, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Engineer, doctor, like cutting hair is not a profession.
yeah.
So
Agreed. Yeah, definitely. It was something that like our families, like they look at like I used to watch barber videos all the time, and when I was watching the videos, they were fine with it, and then obviously like once I first started cutting, that's when they started to be like, oh, are you actually wanna like start learning this? This is not a good job. you can't make money, you're gonna be suffering. Um, so yeah, of course they objected a lot. Um, I'm the type of guy, I remember certain stuff more than other stuff, but my barber moments were vivid, but all the other stuff, like my parents yelling at me, them saying don't do this, like that was all a blur in my memory, right? Like, but definitely there were a lot of days of us going back and forth whether I should do this, especially during the time of me going through high school. And like I was always a very like good student. I would get good grades, but towards my last years where I kind of realized that like it was either I make enough money now to where I don't have to go to university, or I go to university and I started to slack off with school a little. That's when I really started getting like a lot of like arguments, definitely with my parents.
uh, you mentioned that you do not have a lot of memories with, of course, but
Hmm.
so you consciously not want do you consciously not want to remember the memories where there was a lot of interjection, or where there was a lot of denial with this is not good or bad? So is is this selective memory, is it a conscious decision, you would say, or that it was just like
No, I think it's unconscious. I'm very the type of guy where I remember stuff that like is
works for you?
important or good for me.
Yeah.
I often don't remember a lot. Like I forgive people easily. Like that's just the type of person I am. I don't remember the bad stuff like per se. Like only the specific stuff that I really cared about.
So not a lot of drama. You're like
Yeah, I
more
kind
like
of like
straightforward.
I straightforward. I move on type thing.
So it takes me to a question that, do you think entrepreneurship is about strategy, or is it about mindset, or do you want to add something?
It's a mixture, of course, but 90% of the people in the world, the problem that they have that I find after being a barber and cutting, like from when I used to charge $10 in the basement with my friend to now charging $150 cutting some of the wealthiest people in the world. The number one mindset switch that I realized is these guys always have the ideas, but they never did the first step. It's just like the most like I think that's the number one thing, getting started, taking the first step, and just like going at things with the open learning mindset, right?
Yeah, so the figuring out can happen
The
later.
figuring out could happen, but just start, just get it started.
So when did you first cut someone's hair for money? Like what age?
Oh, I could. It's a long story as well about this, but after months and months of me watching videos, I probably did thousands and thousands of hours of just watching videos.
Sorry, and when did you start watching the videos?
I would say like as early as grade 4, grade 5,
No,
like like
fantastic.
very young, very very young. I've been watching videos, and
Wow.
just me just watching how to cut more for my personal reason of me wanting to get a good cut.
Yeah.
But then as I started to grow up and realize that you could make money from doing this, right?
Mhm.
Um, I remember it was summer break during grade 8 summer break. Me and my friends would always chill, and I remember my one friend would tell me, "My dad always messes up my hair. I'm so pissed off," right? And I remember like after years and years, like look, I just didn't start because I had the same problem. I knew I liked it, but I never started. It was just that one summer after years of him telling me this, I told him, I'm like, hey man, let me just line you up in my bathtub in my upstairs, right? So he agreed to it. I went upstairs and I looked into my dad's tools, and I think honestly I think it was his body trimmer. And then I take the trimmer and I'm like, okay, I got you. Sit in the bathtub. And then that was the first time I ever like put a clipper on someone's head,
Yeah.
and I lined him up. And he looked at it and he was like, wow, like I actually
How
liked it.
old were you?
This was grade 8,
Wow.
grade 8 summer. And he liked it. And then it became like a thing like, yo, secretly come, like I'll line you up every week. I started
Yeah.
lining him up every week. Then obviously I had no money. I was
Yeah.
in grade 8. Parents were going through a hard time. I kept telling my brother like, yo, I really like this, and I believe my brother surprised me with a pair of like Walmart clippers, like $30 clippers, and I was so happy. I was over the moon. I got my first pair of clippers, because like my parents weren't gonna buy it for me. I had $0 to my name, right? So after I got that first pair of clippers, I decided to tell him, let me cut your hair now, right? So I went from a lineup to cut his hair. I did my first cut. I still have a picture of it. I could show it
So
to you.
your friend's hair or your brother's hair?
My friend, my brother
Okay,
would
but
never let
never
me,
do that. That's
never
what
let
I
me
was
touch his
thinking.
hair. Yeah. And actually, before this, I did try to cut my dad's hair before,
Okay.
and I messed him up with the chunk right here. He went to the Chinese mall after and got it fixed for like $8.
Okay.
The lady was laughing at what I did.
No, but that was a safe choice, doing it on your dad, not your brother, because I from what you're saying, he was pretty finicky about
His hair, yeah. No. So the person I was doing it on was my friend,
Yeah. Okay.
my best friend.
Yeah.
And after I gave him that first haircut, this is when he went home. His mom loved it. This is when the ripple effect started of like, okay, his brother's like, okay, I'll come to you. Then our other friend on the street is like, okay, fine, I'll go to Alen too. And then that's when the ripple
And you
effect.
started charging them?
I didn't charge for maybe my first like 25 haircuts. I didn't charge a single dollar until I realized, I'm like, wait, like I could make money from this, right? So that's when I'm like, all right, guys. Actually, the time I started charging was at the time I started getting people who paid me just because they liked their cut
Yeah.
that they got from me.
So like a tip.
Like a tip, exactly.
Without you asking for it.
Exactly.
Oh,
I
wow.
remember my first time someone paid me. It was this one of my friends in my high school. I still remember him. I actually, he hated his cut. He wore a hoodie to school, but his character was a very giving guy. So he just gave me a tip, and that's when I decided, I'm like, I'm gonna charge $10 or $8 for haircuts. That's when I first started charging.
So I have a few takeaways from you. How important it is to start early, but even more important it is to have the right set of people around you, because as much as your dad did not approve of it, he must be knowing that you're cutting here, right? A little bit here or there.
Yeah. So if you want to know the real story,
Yeah.
I cut in the bathtub, and I would always clean up
Yeah.
and make sure my parents were never home.
Yeah.
And one day my parents are like, why is there a little bit of hair here? And then I said, oh, I was fixing my friend's hair in the bathtub.
Yeah.
So we got into a whole argument over that. They're like, don't cut their hair. Their parents are going to come and yell at us. They're going to, you can't be cutting your friend's hair. So what actually happened, I don't really share this story a lot, but I told that same friend, my first best friend who I cut his hair, I'm like, man, I can't cut anymore. Could I please cut in your basement? I'll even like give you free cuts and stuff. Like, could I use your basement? And for a year, my whole grade 9 year, I was grade 3/4 of my grade 9 year, I was cutting from his basement, not even my own house. So after school every day, 3, I'd be at his basement, and 3 till like 4:30 I'd cut, and then I would go home after that.
And your brother knew about this?
My brother did, my parents didn't.
And your brother was there with you? He was
No,
like,
my
okay,
brother
fine.
was
there
in
with you, like,
university.
supporting you.
Like he told me, yeah, keep doing it. Like you can make it work.
You've been really lucky with your brother, right? Like
Mhm.
he's been there with you.
Mm-hmm. And basically, my family, they kept saying, hey, are you gay? Like, you're literally chilling with your friend every single day, like for the whole year, the same friend, same basement, from this time to this time. They're like, come on, get a lot, like, come home. You can't be like chilling with the same friend all the time, nonstop, right? Because they didn't know I was cutting hair, right?
Yeah.
Until eventually they started to pick up and they started to click on, and I'm like, no, I don't care. Like, I'm gonna keep cutting hair at my friend's basement, right? And it started to grow. I started to make more money. His basement was getting busy. Like, oh, so many people are coming to my basement, right? So that's when my mom, my mom always had she always also kind of supported me. She supported me fully, but like with this, she's like, okay, fine, we'll let you cut in our garage, right? So that's when I went from my friend's basement to me starting in my own garage.
I think it's also not just a story of hard work and having the right people around you, also of resilience, because a lot of times we hear um, people saying that, oh, my parents don't approve of it and this and that. And in my head, I always keep saying, you need to prove to everybody, including your parents, and it's not their fault. They're just concerned about you, right?
100%.
When you're like 14, 15, hormones are at play. They kind of want to be with you, right? Especially if they were immigrant parents, they've seen a hard life and they're doing all the work for you so you can have a better one. So it's not just about how should I say, it's not just about them just showing you that they're your parents and have an upper hand. It's just them telling you that we're concerned. You can't take that excuse of, no, because my parents didn't approve of it or because of them I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Because once you start get into that loop of making excuses,
Yeah.
you would always have them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So the learning is two learnings which I see from your journey. I see a lot. Like the two most important ones are to start and not think about the outcome, which is easy, which gets easy if you start early, I feel, because you don't have anything to lose.
You have nothing
Like,
to lose.
yeah, when I started at 17, my first contract, I had no responsibilities. Like,
Yeah.
no, none. Right?
If anything, mom would give you food tomorrow.
Yes, I had a shelter. Like I think we do come from a place of privilege, right?
Mm-hmm.
When we see the other people, like we had the basics for us, which our parents provide us for. So if our parents can do the basics for us, I think we have no excuses. If you really want to do something, there will always be ways out.
Always.
And you don't need to know the ways. You just need to start what you did. And then eventually, I think money, as much as people say it's not important, money does make people realize your importance. And I've seen that, right? Once you start making money, like probably not 20 years from now when I am an old man and I made enough, probably then I can be like a little more philosophical saying, oh no, money doesn't matter, you have enough. But to start with, it's a really strong motivator.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know if you agree with it, with your passion for sure, but it has to go hand in hand. It cannot just be your passion, because in the end, you have to put food on the table. And when you start making money at an early age, you start taking care of it in a much better way versus doing it maybe 7, 8, 10 years later. And I'm not saying that there's a an age for entrepreneurship. Whenever you want to do it. But the earlier you start, the better it is, as per my experience. Do you want to add something on it?
Yeah, I think yeah, it's important to have to oftentimes I find you could get how should I word this? Yeah, actually, I don't really like nothing much to add, but like yeah, like for me, it didn't start with the original goal of just making money, but me just like giving and doing what I love turned into me making money.
Correct.
So that's kind of at least for my situation, right?
Yes, the original goal. So when I started teaching, I did not charge them for like 3 years, right?
Mhm.
Because I was not in, as mom said, until you turn 18, you're an adult. I don't want you to make
Make money,
make
yeah.
your own money. But then when you realize that you can do that and make money, it is a boost of motivation. That's what I realized in my scenario, that, oh, wow, people don't figure out for the longest time how can they make money, right? And then here you are, where people are like telling you to take money for what you're doing. So
Yeah.
thankfully I've done something right in my life, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's when you're like, okay, now let's do more.
Yeah.
Once it bites you, like, no, you can do more, right?
Mm-hmm.
And while people might say like you started when you were 14, while people when they look at you they'll be like you don't have enough experience. Happens with me in my business all the time that you might not have the right experience because you started. So about my company, you started your company 2 years ago, and I'm like, but the journey started when I was 17, which is 2014. So I started entrepreneurship 10 years ago, and the fundamentals of doing a business, and correct me if I'm wrong, fundamentals of entrepreneurship, irrespective whichever field you're in, always remain the same.
Agreed.
You have to sell yourself. You have to do the boring stuff, which can be anything. Every business would have some monotonous part to it, and you have to do it, right? You have to be consistent, and you have to make sure that you're patient enough. Like
Mm-hmm.
I always keep telling my team as well, you need to sell yourself, whichever business you go in. Even if you're doing a job, you need to sell yourself. The fundamentals don't change, right? You need to have patience. Like there's no shortcut. You need to have patience. You make sure that you're consistent at it, right? Sometimes you don't see results for the longest time,
Mm-hmm.
but it's good that you're not seeing those results for the longest time, because the longest time for you, when I say start early, will not make a very big difference versus when you're like 40. Again, I emphasize on this. Maybe it doesn't work for everyone's situation. Start early, because as you mentioned, that we have nothing to lose, right? So and the best part is you've experienced failures so early in life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? So you're like, oh, okay, this was a failure. I didn't realize it. I thought it was just an experience,
Mm-hmm.
and it just happens.
And also from the clients that I've talked to, like obviously studying early was good, but even just living in like a beautiful country like Canada, I feel like anyone could start as well. Like the
Yes.
earlier you start, the better. But it's beautiful. Anyone could start because you could get any job and you'll have your basic needs kept for you. You'll have a minimum wage that could pay for your food and
Yeah.
a basic place to live, right? And then beyond that, like I have so many clients who started entrepreneurship later on in their life,
Mm-hmm.
but are still killing it. And it just like, I think there's an opportunity for everyone to start.
Yeah, whatever works for you, honestly. Yeah, so we're here to share our experiences.
Yeah.
If that works for you, great. But if you, in the end, you have to figure it out for yourself,
Exactly.
right? You
Yeah.
can just listen and then figure it out yourself. Okay, so since we were already talking about, let's get to this. Since we were already talking about the fundamentals of business, and I just mentioned what I think are the fundamentals of business. What do you think about this?
I think the number one thing for, like you said, for someone looking into starting a business is find problems in society and find solutions to them. And often, like as I've gone from like my first business to my second business to my third business, I realized solving solutions for people who have money is often bigger, like solutions that you could get paid more for and hold more weight in society. So that's kind of what I learned.
And so you casually mentioned from one business to the other business to the third business.
Yeah.
Um, though I know about your businesses,
Yeah.
but I'm sure the audience would be really curious to know what businesses you're into and how, again, I keep coming back to your age. How did you start with these businesses and what motivated you to go from one to the other to the third one? So let's talk more about your businesses if you don't mind.
Yeah. So before we get to the first business, realistically, like you said, your journey really started even before that. My journey in entrepreneurship, I guess you could say, started even before that, because throughout middle school and early high school, I was like just for the enough pocket change to buy lunch at lunchtime, I was doing stuff like reselling iPhones,
Oh wow, okay.
reselling. So I kind of I picked up a lot of skills along the way too, right? Like my journey started a lot earlier. Like just bringing it back to what you said, but so my first business was barbering. Um, like I said, started in my friend's basement, then went to my garage, Then my friend kept improving that. Year after year, I was very fascinated in it. Um, like I learned a lot along this journey of barbering, and um, went to my first barber shop. It was my first. It was the job I had out of high school, which made me decide that I'm not gonna go to university, and I was making a full-time living before I even left high school, to make me decide that I was gonna keep doing barbering.
Let's talk in money terms if you don't mind. Like what was the full time living like? Add a
Like
number to it.
like 6 figures, like make like 100K like
When you were in high school.
in high school,
Wow.
leaving high school. So that's kind of what made me realize that okay,
Now that's really exciting. Making 6 figures. Let's talk more about that.
yeah.
So what did your parents feel when they see that they've done so much struggle to raise you, and then you making 6 figures before even turning into an adult? Like what was that feeling? Do you remember a specific experience where they were proud of you, or they were worried that, oh my god, he suddenly has this much money?
Yeah, so from very young, my dad told me, he's like, if you make money, you're not gonna want to go to school, and you're gonna get distracted, and then you're gonna become like like, I'm not gonna say like, you know how our parents think, like you're gonna just go down the wrong path.
Yeah.
And but then again, like once I started really being there for my family to support them, I think that's when they really started to realize like
You're
wow,
on the right path. You're
it's
helping
helpful,
them.
yeah.
So
yeah, but like even up till then, the money, they were still very like stubborn about me going to school and like getting a degree and stuff.
what they term as basic education, you know?
Exactly.
Like, at least get your bachelor's. It's
Exactly.
like basic education.
Exactly. Yeah.
I can this is something which I can empathize with. Not cutting hair though, but this, because my mom still feels that I'm not
Qualified?
I'm not qualified enough because I am
Yeah.
not a professional. I don't have a professional degree, and I'm like, okay, it is what it is. You have to live with it.
Yeah. Exactly.
So 100 figures even before finishing your school. So of course you took this decision of not going to the university.
But what helped me as well, don't mean to cut you off, I would have not been making this if it wasn't for COVID. So COVID, like, as a lot of people who saw it as like, oh, like lockdown, I'm just gonna play video games. I was there sitting in my backyard thinking of ideas. I was building stuff in my backyard. I literally built a gym in my backyard. I was thinking about what I'm gonna do. Like every day was just like me cutting, and then lockdown gave me free time, which allowed me to do that. If there was no lockdown, like I said, everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
And that's one of my things that helped me a lot.
But then again, when like we talked about like 20 minutes ago, is it mindset or strategy? So I think it's mindset first, followed by a strategy. You cannot have the best strategy and not do the first step. Your mindset was, I have a feeling that I'm so sure that you have this abundance mindset versus somebody who would find 10 reasons to 10 reasons of something not working, versus you who has this abundance mindset that I'll do it. This is gonna happen, right? Let's just get into it. And that also has become your muscle memory because you've done this over and over and over again. And you're like, now I can do this even better. So COVID came, so now we come to COVID. So yeah, you make me feel old because you were in high school, like maybe a decade after I was.
Yeah.
But anyway, so COVID came, and then you did try something else, but you did stick to doing what you were doing. So while this was making money, which is a lot of money for an 18-year-old, why and what is the next business, and why did you start that?
Yeah, so with my barbering career, I was always the reason I was able to charge such a high price compared to other barbers is because I was always looking at how I could provide more value to my customers as a barber. So for me, that was being on time, providing certain cuts, and like I was basically doing everything possible to make the service as valuable as possible. And one of the things I kind of came up with during the process is like like you said, like a lot of men have insecurities, whether it's about their
Correct.
hairline, their beard not growing in a certain place or certain thing. So one of the innovations that I believe I was one of the first barbers in Ontario, actually. Not the first, I would say the first 5 barbers in Ontario to bring something over called enhancement, which was essentially a color enhancement you could
Yeah.
use to fill in your beard, in your hairline. And I kind of saw it from someone in America. And I'm like, let me bring that over here.
And I can vouch for it because I use it, guys. My beard doesn't look this good otherwise.
Yeah.
So I do use the enhancer.
Yeah, so-
And we might take a break and show your products, which we thought we'll keep here, but we forgot.
So
But,
actually, that's not the actual product that I'm talking about.
Oh, okay.
It was actually a spray, and
Okay.
this was only able to be used during the haircut. Like only I could do it for you.
Okay.
The customer could not.
Yeah, I've
take
seen that, like the spray and the
spray exactly like the card and the
yeah,
spray.
got
So
it.
I became known for this. Men with beards. I became a barber known for beards. So I had my clientele's mainly like us Asian men, like a lot of brown guys and Arab guys with big beards. Like
But how did you get them? Like that's also
like
what I'm curious
that's kind of
about.
what I'm doing. Like as I started marketing myself as this guy who specializes in the beards, like I brought I was doing the fill in and all of that stuff, right? And okay, let me not go off topic to how I got them, but let me
Yeah.
just tell you how.
But what channels were you using? I'm again more focused on how were you getting, because people said they have the best idea, they started but don't have the clients, the customers, right?
Yeah.
So what were the channels? You were marketing, but how were you marketing?
So yeah, like with any business, there's the service you're providing, and then which is one aspect, and then getting people to know about it,
Yes.
which is what you're asking. How did I get people to know
Yes.
about it? And all I did was I provided a really, really good service where people who would use my service would refer people. And 2, I used Instagram and TikTok. I just
Okay.
was making social media content, and not many barbers were doing what I was doing.
Okay, and this
So-
is 2020, 2021.
This is like, yeah, around there.
Oh, and you were saying you were one of the first few people who got the enhancement. And now you
enhancement.
see there was an all
Now-
salons.
Now a lot of salons use it, right? So I was one of the first people. So going back to how the product came, because there was such a big demand and my clients loved it, people were driving hours to come get a cut from me just because they
Wow.
knew I could like fill in their beard, fill
Do
in their
some
hairline,
magic.
right? And this is semi-permanent. It lasted 3 to 4 washes.
Yeah.
You you get a cut, 3 to 4 washes, and then it's gone. Then you have to come get another cut, right? So because of that, I kind of realized I'm like, men like this filled look, right? But the problem is they can't keep it because they only can get it when they get a cut from me. So me getting these ideas, I'm like, okay, how could I solve this problem? Me and one of my partners, my best friend today, we kind of he's also a barber as well. We're like, why don't we look into a product that we could sell to our customers where they could replicate this look at home, which is where we came with the idea of the beard enhancer pen,
Yeah.
which you use today.
Yeah.
And we've sold over thousands of orders across
Wow.
the world,
Across the world? So it's not just Canada.
not just Canada.
Okay.
So we thought of the idea. Honestly, it was an idea of mine for a long time, but it was my partner who really pushed me like, bro, let's actually like execute on this, right? So we got into talks with suppliers. We got the product shipped over here, and this was the start of our new company called Actev.
But you make it sound so easy. I mean, listening to it feels like it's just cakewalk, but like finding the right supplier and you're doing
We didn't get the first supplier right away.
Okay.
We went through a lot of like shitty products. We went through a lot of lost money before we like I know I make it, like I said, I look at the glory of it, but
Yeah.
we went through a lot of like BS to get to the final stuff, right?
I think we would really need to do another podcast, and I think Matt would agree with me, keeping in mind the time. I really want to know just maybe one more podcast of we just talking about how did you scale your business, because I think that's the third business of yours.
No, this was the second. The Active with the product line was the second.
No, so I'm saying we would want to talk about how you scale your business, because your third business is about scaling a barber business, right?
Exactly.
Like telling people how to scale their business. So we will come to that depending on how much time we have, though. But coming back to Active, so that's how Active was born. And then you started adding more products to it.
And then after that, we're like, okay, we solved this problem. Why don't we solve another problem, which was a lot of men, they hated using gunky, heavy products in their hair.
Yeah.
So we're like, and a lot of men were going for the more natural styled hair look.
Okay.
Instead of the, like the hard gel.
Yeah.
So-
Not anymore. That's like too.
It's the old look.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we came up with the sea salt spray. And the beard enhancer, we were one of the newer people to bring it to the market. The sea salt, there were a few other people doing it, but we came and added our own twist to it. And then we did our next product and our next product. And since then, we've just been adding products and growing that business.
And how old is Active?
Active is, I believe, like 2 years now.
2 years.
Maybe closer to 3 years. 3 years, yeah.
And you're making good money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the barber business is going on as well. Like you're still cutting hair.
I just cut hair
For your
mostly
elite
for my,
clients.
my more high profile
High
and
profile.
like clients who I've built a close relationship with,
Yes.
just to maintain the relationship.
Any
you know?
celebrities you're approaching or planning to be like, oh, okay, this is the celebrity I would want to cut the hair for.
Actually, during my phase of barbering, I've done so much stuff. It's so hard to go in depth with it, but there was a phase where I actually was doing this one like kind of method of getting celebrities, and I had my phase of cutting celebrity clients for like a little bit of time.
A phase. It feels like you. It's been so many years for you doing this, and of course it's been so many years. But it coming from you, just it's inspiring.
They weren't
and
like
it's
big
fascinating.
celebrities.
Yeah.
They were more like local celebrities, like Toronto artists, like
Wow.
some people that like I probably wouldn't really like associate right now with, but
Okay,
like
yeah.
more like local people. Yeah.
No, that's amazing. And the barber. So you registered your barber business, and then you did Active, and I didn't know that you have partners with it. And then, like let's quickly just brief on your third business. And I'm so sure we will have
Yeah.
a second
Interview.
episode of just you talking about the businesses in detail. But like, what is the third business?
So the third business, which is the one I'm spending my most time on right now, very, very exciting business, but essentially, a detail I never added. My second year barbering is when I met my best friend, who is, you met him, Marwan.
Marwan, yeah.
New to the country from Afghanistan,
Yeah.
immigrant as well, right? Sees me and is interested in barbering. I teach him the craft, and within like the amount of stuff that took me 3 years to get to, we got him to do it in like less than like a year,
Wow.
right? And then as we went, we had another friend that wanted to learn from us, right?
Yeah.
And then the skills that took us 5 years to learn, we got him to do it in 6 months.
What's the secret sauce?
So basically, as we started growing, we realized we were able to help people grow at a pace that was faster and faster and faster. Like, which is our newest partner, which is in our third business, Fernando. He was a client of mine getting haircuts from me.
Okay.
And I pitched the idea of him, why don't you become a barber? Because I saw his personality. And from that moment he sat into this chair, from knowing nothing about barbering, 1 year later, he was charging $150, making $15K a month.
Wow.
With just
Wow.
following our game plan that we taught. And then we were kind of thinking one day, we're like, bro, we literally know something that the industry doesn't, right? And that hundreds of barbers around the world message us, DM us on a daily basis saying, yo, like, could I come look at you cut hair? Could I talk to you? I'll pay for your advice. Like, people were reaching out to us, because if you search barbers in on TikTok or Instagram, like, there was a phase where we took over the whole TikTok. Like,
Wow.
if you search up barbers, it would be all the people that I thought just come up as the first people, right? Or the people we worked with, which is when we realized, we're like, man, let's turn this into something where we could actually help more people. So we started to systemize our processes that we use and package it into a mentorship service, which we now sell for a very high ticket price to people because we provide this value that's like exponentially life changing. Like we're bringing people to a place where like would have took them tens of 20s of like years to get to, and we're doing it to them in like a span of 6 months.
And what's that high ticket price?
So it varies like month to month. We're constantly improving our thing. I don't want to share it here because I prefer
Guys, you can DM Alen. We will be leaving all the links.
but what I will say is it's you could close your eyes and make the decision because the value, the ROI you get on our services, right? Or it's a no-brainer for the people who want to work with us.
Makes sense. It's the value in money terms versus the value you get out of it, and as you mentioned, the ROI. That's the right way of doing business.
It's not a hard decision for our clients to make because in other businesses, you have to calculate the ROI in terms of another way. For example, if you buy a McDonald's burger, right, you're not getting money back out of it. You're getting a sense of like happiness and like I enjoyed my food, right? But with ours, it's really you get more money out of it.
Correct.
So it's like a simple.
It's like an investment.
It's
right?
like
it's like a real estate investment. You buy the land and then it appreciates. It's like you're buying a skill which you can eventually.
It's like a guaranteed investment.
Yeah.
Because we even like that's the type of. So it's like it's been going really good, and I think this is like something where we really crack the code in something really.
This is something which you're right now really passionate about, because I'm not sure what will you be passionate about a month from now, because I think you eat, sleep, and think about ideas. That's what you do. And also do your other thing, which is fantastic. Coming to the end of this episode, one last question which you can choose to pass, and then as I mentioned before, we will be doing another episode. I'm really excited to know more about just the entrepreneurship part. Is that okay? I have not one, just two questions. One question is that any last advice which you would want to give to people who either just started their businesses or looking to start their business, like one line, what that advice would be, and then following up with that would be, how much money do you make in a month?
One piece of advice. I think what you said is good. Patience. And I have this kind of I have a whole bunch of like quotes that I kind of look at whenever I really need. I could read some of them out to you if that helps. Right? I think the biggest thing actually for me that I would say for everyone in business is the biggest battle you're fighting every day is with your own self. It's an internal battle, right? So like it's really beautiful once you start to realize that like the world is not a battle with the world, it's a battle with yourself. It's all internal. And the internal stuff that like it's beautiful if you could feel the feeling I have of it, because it's like what you do is like your reality. Like what's inside of you is what your reality is.
Yes, if you can, I want to add on to this because this is so close to me. What I keep thinking is, I keep going back to when I was planning to start Orientum Group. Keep going back to one incident that I was working in a similar industry, right? And my boss asked me, like my ex-boss, what is your differentiator? Like you would be doing the same work, which I have been doing with my company from the past 15 years. And there are so many other people doing that. So what is the differentiator? You rather just stay with us and scale our business and we'll pay you good money, like low risk, more money. And I couldn't answer that question, but I knew that it won't be what you're doing, but I didn't have the right answer. And I still quit that business. Everybody told me not to do it. Like, I was making good money. And 6 months into starting my own company, which is 2023, I had the answer just like that one day. I was like, after doing the business for like 6 months, getting clients, I said, you know what, Ash? The differentiator is me, is you, Ash. It's There's no other Ash. So it's me. I am the differentiator of my business. Everything else, what you offer, like there are hundreds of other barbers, right? What you offer, how you offer, they're all layers to we as individuals, and we are unique in our own sense, right? And as you mentioned, in the end, it's your own reality. You're not fighting with anybody else, you're fighting with yourself. And I'm really passionate about this, and that's why I wanted to add on to this. Now, coming back to the lighter note topic, the lighter thing, which which is not so light for you. How much money do you make? You can pass the question, but I would love to
Yeah.
have a ballpark.
Yeah, I'm very like everyone around me knows this. I'm very very discreet with this stuff.
Okay.
So I'm gonna pass the question.
Okay, we'll try again in the second episode, maybe.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, thank you guys for listening to this. It's as new for us as it can be. First episode I've ever recorded in a professional setting, and I hope there were a few takeaways out of this. Thanks for doing it.
Thank you.